All right, still in the endocrine system. Cannot speak. Still in the endocrine system. And now I'm going to talk about the adrenal glands. This is just 3 slides, so it's going to be real quick. And this is where I actually ended the lesson in this on Monday, whenever I did this live. When I did this live. So we have the adrenal glands, and what the adrenal glands are, they are 2 glands, and each one of them sit atop of a kidney. And there is an outer cortex and an inner medulla, and some people call it the medulla. It's whatever. Just remember, it's the inner portion is the medulla, and then it's all surrounded by a capsule. Then the cortex itself has 3 zones. There's the zona glomerulosa, the zona fasciculata, and the zona reticularis. And from outside to in is GFR. Now, remembering GFR is just important, but understand that when you look at like the histology of the adrenal gland, that this may not be clearly delineated, just meaning that you may not be able to tell the difference between the zona glomerulosa and the zona fasciculata. However, the medulla is usually discernible as it's a separate structure. So we have a kidney and an adrenal gland. And then if we look at this, we have the cortex on the outside and the medulla. If we look at the rat, we see again, this is a kidney right here. And then sitting atop the kidney is the adrenal gland. We look at a slide and we can see the cortex, which would be from about here to here. And then if we look, we can see the zona glomerulosa, the zona fasciculata, and the zona reticularis. And then in the middle, we have the medulla. Now, the adrenal cortex secretes certain hormones, and actually each one of those zones secretes different hormones. And we'll talk about the adrenal medulla on the next slide. So we have the zona glomerulosa, which again, the outermost portion of the cortex. And what it produces is mostly mineralocorticoids, most importantly, aldosterone. And in my lecture, I'm going to talk about aldosterone quite a bit in both the endocrine chapter as well as a chapter on the urinary system. And the reason we're going to be talking about it in the urinary system is because it's going to help control electrolyte levels in the blood. And aldosterone is going to target kidneys, again, urinary system. It's going to increase reabsorption of sodium, chloride, and water. And it's also going to increase the secretion of potassium. The middle portion of the cortex, again, is called the zona fasciculata, and it produces mostly glucocorticoids, most importantly, cortisol. And glucocorticoids help regulate blood sugar levels and reduce inflammation. And cortisol is going to promote gluconeogenesis. And gluconeogenesis is the synthesis of new sugars. The innermost layer of the cortex is the zona reticularis, and it's going to produce mostly gonadotropins, and these are precursors to sex hormones. In the testes and the ovaries, they will be converted to testosterone and estrogen. And then finally, we have the medulla. Got a little bit of pancreas in there. Okay, so the medulla, the adrenal medulla, is going to secrete 2 different hormones, epinephrine, which used to be called adrenaline, and norepinephrine, and that used to be called noradrenaline. So we have epinephrine, it targets numerous systems, too many to name, okay? It has that, like, it's famous for being involved in the fight or flight response. Remember, that's the sympathetic nervous system, that you're driving down the road and you're doing 70, and somebody like flies by you doing 100 and almost clips in front of your car. that heart racing and all that kind of stuff that goes on, that's the fight or flight response. And so that's where epinephrine comes into play. There's also that increase in heart and respiratory rate, pupil dilation, blood sugar levels. Now, exercise will also increase epinephrine levels in the blood. And epinephrine is also involved in some emotional responses like fear. And then we have norepinephrine, similar to epinephrine with the fight or flight effects. It's affects heart, stroke volume, sugar mobilization, reduction of digestive activities. Now, overproduction can lead to a number of problems like hypertension, heart failure, kidney disease, stress, all bad things, right? All right, so that was all I had for the adrenal glands. I will see you guys next week when we finish up the endocrine system, and then we start on the next chapter, the next lab unit. All right, have a good one.